Poker Hero here with another hand review. Today we try to answer that one question that plagues us all: is what is this guy check raising with? So have you ever been in that situation where you just face a bizarre check raise that doesn't make any sense? You have trouble knowing whether to proceed or to fold? Well, we're going to analyze one of those situations here together and hope we can learn from it. So here's the scenario. We're playing 10NL 6 max cash. The villain I have a decent amount of history with. Over 2,000 hands, he's been one of the more aggressive players in the pool. V Pippin at 31, pre-flop raise of 21. I put down a C bet of 58 because that'll come into play later. The notable trend on this villain, he's very aggressive in the steal positions, much more so than the rest of the player pool. The steal percent at 34 is high, but not astronomical. 34 is the overall steal percent. In small blind specifically that we're looking at here, it's 41%, which is high from small blind. So he's also a little bit of a battler. When he does do these steals or some weird 3-bets I've seen before, though, he doesn't just give up. He's not a guy that says, like, well, all right, I bet 3-bet 7-6 offsuit. You caught me, I give up. He's a guy that's going to continue to fight and try to protect his equity. So a little background on the villain. Let's get into the hand. So we are, of course, in one of those steal spots here where we're in the big blind with a decent hand with a queen-jack offsuit. This villain raises to 3 big blinds from the small blind. So now we have to decide. The first decision here is, do we call, fold, or raise? So I do call here. I'm going to explain why I like a call. So when we look at his pre-flop range, and the range I have over here on the right-hand side is 41% of hands. It may not be exactly what he's opening from small blind, but it's pretty close. That's a lot of hands. So if you look at that against that, we actually have 46% equity. Now, we only put 20 cents into a pot that would be 60 cents, so our pot odds here are 33%. We have well more than that to make the call. The problem is with 3-betting is if you 3-bet, first, you're going to get 4-bet some percentage of the time, in which case you're probably going to have to fold. If he does call, he's folding out all these weakest hands that you beat. He's folding off the King 6 offsuit, which I guess King High is you're actually behind, but he's folding out the 9-7 suited, the 8-7 suited, Queen 4 suited, the hands that you dominate. So I don't like 3-betting in this case because I think when he does, if he 4-bets, you're in terrible shape and have to fold. And if he does continue, your equity is just going down. You're actually stronger or better off keeping all these weak hands in that range. So we call and we go to a flop. Flop comes 5, 10, jack, 2 spades. So from the villain's perspective, what would you do with this range on that flop? So you kind of got to make a decision. Are you betting everything? Or are you just going to bet some of your best made hands and some of your draws here? Because he does have good made hands. He does have a lot of 10x. He has he has 2 pairs. He has sets. He also has a lot of draws. He has the king queens. He has the 9-8s. He has a lot of spades. So he has a lot of hands he can bet on here. So it's hard to tell from his perspective whether he's betting absolutely everything or if he's just going to bet his best made and his draws. Regardless, if you look at that range we just had here a second ago, though, we are certainly well ahead of it. He is a guy that might bet some ace highs, might bet some small pairs. You only need 29% equity to continue. PokerTracker shows you up here. This, in my opinion, is a very easy call. And we get a turn. Oh, I'm sorry. This is going to the flop here. So we're going to do real quick. This is what our equity in his lines up against that flop. So if this is a scenario where he was betting everything on the flop, he only has 11% equity against our hand. So if you actually look here, he has missed the flop the vast majority of the time. 60% of the time, all he has is a high card. He doesn't even have a pair. So if he's betting his entire range, 40% of it's something, and many of those are not going to be top pairs. 60% of it is ace high that we're ahead of. So you always got to think, is the guy betting everything? Is the guy just betting a piece of his range? Kind of accommodate that way. All right, now we're to the turn. Turn comes 6 of diamonds, and he checks to us. So what does that mean? So normally when I see someone kind of c-bet out of position there pre-flop or on the flop, you get to the turn, and he checks over to you. That is often, from what I've seen, just purely a give-up. So if he had a flush draw, he's likely to bet. If he had an overpair, he's going to bet. If he had a 10, a set, whatever it is, he's likely to bet. A lot of those hands, if nothing else, are going to want protection. So figure he had ace 10 of clubs here. There's a lot of bad river cards for him. You know, a spade's not good. Any of the cards around a jack or a 10 aren't great. So he doesn't want those cards. I think he would probably be betting with all his value hands here. So when it does check to us, we do want a little bit of protection because those same cards that are bad for him could be bad for us. Obviously, an ace and a king comes. He's going to have some ace highs that he floated here. We want to deny equity from those overcards coming in and hitting, so I do think a bet here is necessary. So I go here to 80 cents, check raise to 260. If I recall, because this is a couple nights ago, this is almost an instant click. So whatever he was thinking, he had this move lined up ahead of time. So this is the spot I want to take a minute and look at. This is kind of what I rushed to get to. So here's a question for you guys. Do you fold here or do you call? Or more specifically, is what range of hands are you assigning your opponent to lead to your conclusion? Leave a comment down below because I'd like to start a debate on this one. I'm going to go through my answer here in a second. Leave a comment. Let me know whether you would fold or you would call here and specifically why based on the range of hands that you're assigning him. My solution is as follows. This was in real time, a what the F moment. What is this guy doing? It just screamed kind of bluff to me. The only hand that really got better was pocket sixes, and there's only 3 combinations of those. I had pulled on my analysis here, I pulled like 10-6 and jack-6 out of his range. That actually may have been in his starting range and could have been a 2-pair. But still, that looked like such a bluffy move to me that I'm just trying to prove it out here. So I took his initial range of the 40 or so % of hands, tried to figure out what could possibly be check raising here. So what he has from his initial range here is he has all the top pairs. He has some of the flush draws. We did get rid of some of them just because we have a million flush draws if we didn't. 2 pairs, sets. You look over here on the left-hand side, these 3 hands, the ace-9, ace-8, and ace-7 off, those are not hands he's really going to check raise. What that's representing is just bluffs. Cards that have virtually no equity, which I guarantee this player would do. So if you see here in the top right, this range we gave him has 97 hands. We gave him 36 combinations of bluffs. So about a third of the time when he's in this scenario, he's just running an out-out bluff with little equity. So that's a cool trick I like to use here in PokerTracker. Even if you don't know what hands the guy might be raising, you do have a reasonable guess of what percentage of bluffs he's going to be running versus what percentage of value hands. And if he's doing 2 value hands here to every bluff, you're way ahead. You could argue and take these combos out that the flush draws are enough bluffs. You could certainly argue that he doesn't need those combinations of hands, but this is a guy I just know, and this is villain specific. This is a guy I know is going to fire off some random high card bluffs on me, or I expect him to. So that's my analysis on this point. Yeah, it was a hard point in the game to figure out what he was doing, but if you kind of step back and look at the evidence, I think this is a pretty clear call. So what I did here was call. The river was a queen, so we make top 2, and he checks to us. So I won't belabor this point. This is not the real decision point in the hand. Certainly by the 3rd street, when he checks the river, it looks like a give-up thing. I am hoping at this point in time that this guy heroes us with any type of hand, with an ace high, with an ace 10. I doubt he checks 8-9 here. I doubt he checks ace king. I doubt he checks even ace queen, frankly. I think he would even do the top pair. So anything that's a reasonable top pair or better, though, I do think he would fire that river street on. So I think our hand is best almost every time. So what I'm trying to do is get him to hero call me and think I'm bluffing him off of something. I went here for the full pot jam and he folded. I should say about a 1.5x jam and he folded. I don't mind that. I think it was something where if he was going to hero or call off, he was going to call that amount anyway. I don't think if I had bet $2 here, that would have suddenly gotten a good ace-high hero call out of him. So, guys, let's focus on that check raise spot. I'd appreciate a moment of your time to leave me a comment. Let me know if you like the video, and let me know what you do in that spot. I'm trying to pick out these weird spots for you guys and analyze them together so we can all improve our game, and let me know how you would do it. So thank you guys for watching, and good luck in your games.